All right. Hello, coffee makers, not coffee takers. He is the master of cyber farms, Alfredzo B, Nash Jr., and I, the people's chief, Dr. Joseph J. Burt-Miller Jr. We are your hosts for the Cyber Coffee Hour. Alfredzo and I are products of Mount Vernon, New York, sharing our experiences and stories and sharing those of our amazing guests. We aim to share knowledge, elevate understanding, and foster a sense of belonging in this vast cyberspace. So for today's show, we will have a coffee chat with cybersecurity instructor Kenneth Ellington. Kenneth Ellington is a diligent cybersecurity CEO, proficient in leading and designing cybersecurity training programs for various clients and individuals. Kenneth has experience building and managing cybersecurity training programs related to SIEM and SOAR technologies and works with state to local businesses for cybersecurity related workforce development. Kenneth, welcome to the Cyber Coffee Hour.
Thanks for having me.
For one, thank you for being on the show and just for following your content for a bit and just learn more about you, especially on LinkedIn, man. I see I know you got your programs going on, and but how's that been for you? I guess well, just everything you're doing so far, but I guess just how has it been so far? Have you been able to even take a break a bit, especially with the holiday, to kind of catch up?
I was supposed to be on vacation all last week, but I didn't feel like that. So we had a bunch of good stuff happen, so I had to take care of it. But I got to take my apprentice instructors out to lunch, which I really liked a lot. That we signed some more new clients, so it's been overall been good. We've been our 1 year anniversary, our 2 year anniversary was this past June, and it was kind of crazy because I ran the numbers, and we've helped their clients generate over $500,000 new salaries for them in the past 2 years. So that's been like a really cool
awesome.
thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of work, but it's very rewarding for me, I would say.
Yeah, that
Awesome.
sounds amazing. Congratulations on that milestone. I'm just
Thank you.
catching up to you, so we're going to probably unpack that, but that sounds amazing, and congratulations on your efforts.
Cool, man. Cool. But let's let's get to it. Kenneth, so you've had an impressive journey in the cyber field, leading and designing training programs. Wonder if you could just share a bit about your career path and what led you, which ultimately led you to become a CEO in this industry.
Yeah, so all this was kind of by accident. Initially, when I was younger, my dad's a software engineer. He's been for the past like 28 years. So he's the one that kind of pushed me and my brother to go inside the IT route. But initially, we were like I was in middle school, and brother was in high school. So he made us do like a Code Academy boot camp over the summer. And I'm like, Dad, so you're telling me someone pays you all this money to type on the keyboard all day? This is really stupid. I don't want to do this. This is really lame. And so I didn't do it. So I did for my undergrad initially, I signed up for business management. So when I went towards USF, because I'm from Tampa, Florida, so I went to the University of South Florida. At first, I went to HEC, which is our local community college in Tampa. So after I got transferred to USF, I kind of wanted to niche down to something more specific for better job prospects as I moved on in my college career. And I'm like, Dad, I don't know what to do. He's like, well, how about IT, Kenneth? I'm like, that's a great idea. So I started doing more IT stuff from there. I switched my major from business management towards MIS and cybersecurity. And then from there, one of the big things I tell my students is make sure people know what your true desires are, so they're able to speak on your behalf when you're not inside the room. That's what I did. So I told anybody and everybody that I want to do cybersecurity and IT. So I worked at public supermarkets all throughout college. And my store manager, Lori, at the time, I want to do cybersecurity. And she comes up towards me like the summer 2018. She's like, hey, Kenneth, you said you want to do cybersecurity still. I'm like, yeah. She's like, well, I know the director of Publix for information security. He's coming towards our store in about 2 weeks. Do you want to meet him? I'm like, oh, yeah, of course. So I sat down with Rick. He loved my energy and attitude. He's like, Kenneth, he's like, I want you to work for me next summer as my intern. I'm like, okay. And so he's like, he gave me like step-by-step instructions to do. He's like, Kenneth, if you can do everything on this list in the next 9 months, I can guarantee you a spot on my internship team next summer. So it was like I'm learning Splunk, getting my Security Plus, going to 2 conferences, and shadowing his team. And so,
man, that's
with
awesome.
Publix, or was that so that was
no, with Publix.
Nice, yeah, that's awesome.
Fast forward, I did everything he asked me. It was a lot of work, but it was worth it. I interview with his team, and I get the job. That's kind of how I got inside cybersecurity.
That's what I'm talking about. We ran the gauntlet. Nice.
And I think that's really great, man, because when we talk about, of course, the conversation always about how you break in, quote unquote, break in cybersecurity, and just really just try to make your mark. Just hearing what you said, I mean, just to have, I think for one, having someone to have that belief in you, for one, and to foster that and nurture that, and want to give you the opportunities to, as you mentioned, go into conferences, work on the certifications, just being well rounded, the essentials, honestly, to help you really get started. Because and what really stood out to me, even as you just mentioned with the conferences, whether you may think it's a big thing or not, I think conferences are a big part of it, because you can, that gives you opportunity to meet those in the industry, those who are well established, and be able to grip and grin with those and have them know who you are, and you get to know them, expand and really grow your network. Because honestly, that's part of it too. I mean, aside from the educational piece, of course, learn about cybersecurity, it's also your relationships as well. That's a big part you can't undermine. So I mean, so to be able to have all that pretty much in one package, I think that's great.
100%. Just to piggyback on that, I think the conferences are the best. The conferences are you actually seeing, even before COVID, because I know a lot of it went virtual and stuff like that, but you're seeing the industry show up. So why wouldn't you? The whole industry shows up with their best of their best, marketing, sales, pre-sales, cyber guys, engineers, and the whole industry is there to see and touch. Right. So that's why I like the conferences too, right there with you. Even if you have no certifications, like folks like to say, no education, it's that power hour or two with the industry to say, what do you need? What problems do you need to solve? Tell me at the conference, right? Or I'll catch up with you at the next conference. Even breaking out of cyber, most of these folks are industry leaders, and they show up to pitch or sell a solution to you, but also they have problems they want to solve right there at the conference. So that networking is flawless. I think it should be more exploited in schooling, but it is like you said, it's phenomenal that you had an internship that sent you out to these opportunities. I think that's something that we kind of take for granted nowadays in the industry.
Yeah, I would definitely say, like, closed mouths don't get fed. So if you want something, ask for it. Because if someone doesn't know, some people can't read your mind, or hope not at least. But you have to have the understanding that, yeah. Yeah, like just having the understanding that if you want something, ask for it, and worst thing that would normally happen, you get told no. So that's just what I've always done. And people ask me, Kenneth, why are you so good at networking? I'm like, I just be myself, and I'm just consistent in what I do, right? Because it's not complicated. It's just hard to be consistent, right? Constantly reaching out to people, building those relationships. But it especially helps out, especially in the job market, which isn't the best in the world right now, but it's going to change eventually. And when it does, you want to have the proper relationships put in place. They're able to land a job eventually.
Excellent.
I agree.
Yeah. Excellent. So that's a good transition too. It sounds like you're very highly proficient in SIEM and SOAR technologies, which are critical to modern cyber operations. For our listeners, right, who might not be familiar with these technologies, can you explain what they are, why they're so important in today's industry and cybersecurity threat landscape?
Sure. So I'll start with SIEM. So SIEM stands for Security Information Event Management System or monitoring system. Depends on who you ask. So with that, think of like Splunk, Smoke Enterprise Security, QRadar, Microsoft Sentinel. Basically what happens is all your endpoint devices, like your servers, your routers, your switches, your laptops, right? All those generate logs, right? And generate data.
Right.
And you don't normally want to try to troubleshoot it on the actual source. So you'll tell those devices to send logs towards a centralized system to be logged, managed, to be able to do compliance on it, build detection rules on it, monitor threats on it, and overall protect your security environment. That's more detection engineering, and that is more reactive, right? You wait for something to happen, and then you respond towards it. SOAR, I would say, is a little more proactive, right? Like you're able to actually go ahead of time and prevent incidents from happening and manage them a lot quicker and faster. So SOAR stands for Security Orchestration Automation and Response. So basically, you'd pull in all your various tools. You may have CrowdStrike, your XDR, or Palo Alto, Cortex, your XDR. You might have Jira, you might have Slack, you might have AWS Azure, right? And all those different tools can perform different actions on the systems. So instead of you having to log in to 10 different systems to basically perform an incident response process, right? You can do it either manually through a SOAR platform, or you can automate it using Python or some type of other language, using playbooks to make your lives a lot easier and simpler.
Awesome. And so in that threat landscape, how you're saying the proactive approach is key to knowing those tools and how to leverage the SOAR environment to get ahead of threats.
Yes. So normally there's 3 tiers in like a SOC environment. There's tier 1, there's tier 2, and tier 3. Tier 1, think of it your frontline analyst. It's like normally like level 1 analyst. Normally they'll triage threats, and once they become kind of complicated, they get pushed up the food chain towards like a tier 2. Tier 2 analyst, which might be a senior analyst or an engineer or incident response person. They're normally ones that normally handle and try to remediate those threats and try to get them solved. And then tier 3 is the most proactive. Think of your threat intelligence people and your threat hunters. So those are ones that actually do the research and go out and try to prevent threats from happening for your environment. So that level is normally for more senior security posture firms. So think of like Intel or Bank of America or Citibank. They have the resources to actually go out and implement those new technologies, basically.
Yeah, awesome. So with that, let's segue into. It sounds like you develop an effective cybersecurity training program is no small feat around those toolings. What challenges do you face when building and managing these programs, and how do you overcome them?
So the biggest thing is making sure you tailor whatever you need towards your client or individual prospects, right? Everyone's learning style is different. So if I'm teaching in front of like 100 different people for a company, my learning style or my learning structure will be different than if I taught 10 people, right? Because I can't teach the same way to 100 people to 10 people.
Right.
So making sure I curtail and design whatever solution I'm building out for that smaller group or larger group is very important. Because if you don't do that, they won't get away with the best experience, right? It's another big thing. Another big aspect of it is to try to teach like the fundamentals overall of that technology area or technology stack, right? So if I'm doing SIEM, right, understanding detection engineering basics, logging basic, mining basics across the board. Doesn't matter if you use Smoke and Security, Curator, Sentinel, Elastic, right? Because eventually they may switch towards a different provider, right? They may use Elastic one day, they may use Smoke another day, right? So I want to make sure whatever I'm teaching has a good foundation across the board, no matter what technology stack they use.
Just to follow on too, because something I see as a cybersecurity professional in the landscape is how do you tailor that learning program to the ecosystem of tools, like you said? Because I know there's a lot of cognitive load. You mentioned a few around Sentinel, Sentinel One, CloudStrike, Splunk. There's just an ever growing landscape of these tools. So how do you build from the 10 to 100 student base around that ecosystem?
So normally, if it's like, let's say there's 10 people, right? So with me and one of my other instructors, right, we can be a lot more hands-on. We can be a lot slower, right? I can take a lot more one time with it because there's only 10 people, right? And normally, if they have questions, I'm able to take that time away and walk through them, right? Compared to with 100 people, for that, I might send a lot of the materials ahead of time so they're already caught up. So we don't spend as much time trying to troubleshoot basic issues like, hey, how do you create this account? Hey, what is this Linux issue, right? Hey, what is this issue inside my Python script, right? Things of that nature, right? To try to do a lot more prep time for them to make sure it goes a lot smoother, because if 20 people are confused in a 100-person class, it's very hard for me to actually go to them one by one and try to solve their issues.
Right.
So there's a more personal learning, I guess, mentorship going through the program with most of the tools that they're encountering.
Yes.
Awesome.
So having a focus on like workforce development, and you work with various clients, as we spoke about, from state organizations to local businesses. And I guess, how do you tailor your training programs to meet that diverse need of these entities?
So normally it's going to depend on what the ask is, right? Some people may come to me saying, hey, Kenneth, can you build out a training program for Microsoft Sentinel, right? And then you have to ask them, like, what tool sets do they want to use? What is the cost structure for that, right? What's the timeline? How many people you're going to be training and things of that nature, right? Then you try to like level set with them. If they say, hey, Kenneth, it needs to be done in 2 days, I'm like, you have a couple thousand people, that's not really realistic, right?
Right.
So just making sure everyone's on the same page, right? Making sure I have the proper staff from my side to make sure they're able to handle it. That's another big thing, right? I want to make sure my staff is taken care of, because to me, this isn't like a game. I take this very seriously, because a lot of times my students will pay me a lot of money, right? And eventually after they graduate and they're looking for jobs, I want to put them on good paying contracts so they're able to take care of themselves and their families.
I think that's awesome. So with that, And I think you kind of already answered it because my question was going to be like, do you have a set lead time when these organizations are requesting you to build out these programs? Do you say, hey, I'm going to need, me and my team, we need at least, I don't know, 15 days, 30 days before we can produce that program? Does that depend on, I guess, the organization, size of the organization, or what they're asking for?
Yeah, it depends normally on the size of the organization and what they want us to build out, right? Because normally if it's like a SIEM and SOAR project, I ask them, do you have the resources needed to build up the servers, right? What licenses do you want to use? Right? Do you have the staff in place to help us out with that? Or is everything going to be on us? Because everything's going to be on us, it's going to be an extra fee, right? To make sure we manage
Makes
that.
sense.
Another big thing, I think I mentioned this, was like from the license aspect, right? Are they willing to pay that license if they don't already have the software in place, right? Sometimes that might be a big issue, right? Like, hey, I don't want to pay all the money for CrowdStrike. And I'm like, well, we can't do a CrowdStrike implementation then to do that training for your staff, right? Because
So you don't charge, right? Okay, you got to. So you don't charge back from your solution and to teach the program. You have the company pay for that solution.
Yeah. Because
That's
normally,
awesome.
because normally they want to like teach your staff, hey, here's how you implement Splunk or CrowdStrike, and here's the processes for that. And normally they want to do it in their own systems, right? So I asked them, all right, what is the budget to get the servers in place using AWS, Azure, Oracle, Google Cloud, whatever the case may be? What is the license cost for that? Do you already have that license? Do you want to increase it? What's that going to look like?
Nice. Now that triggers something in the back of my mind. Are they upskilling their existing staff, or are they also contractors in the entities that you work with to train the program? Like, are they trying to bolster their existing workforce or hire on new folks most of the time?
So normally it's like a mixture in between both. So normally if normally they just bought like a brand new solution, right? Let's say call it Cortex XDR or something like that, and they don't want to pay Paul Alto all that extra money to do the training, they might come to somebody like me. I'm not going to charge them as much money as like a large corporation or let's say Splunk or Microsoft or insert any vendor basically, and then we'll walk them through that entire process to see what's best for them.
That's sweet, man. That's cool. I like that.
So as you know, the cybersecurity landscape is constantly evolving. If you could share with us, like, what trends do you see emerging in cybersecurity training, and how are you preparing to address these trends in your training program?
So I've been seeing, because there's been a lot of murders in the industry over the past probably year, right, with Cisco and Splunk, and then Logarithm and Exabeam, right? So I've been seeing a lot more people ask for different vendors trainings, basically. So we still try to keep it kind of agnostic towards a sense. Like we always I pick Splunk because that's the platform I'm familiar with.
Right.
And most of my larger clients, that's what they use for my normal day job. So that's the most popular platform on the market for like SIEM technologies. To normally try to teach that, but I've been seeing a lot more people ask for Microsoft Sentinel training, even though I would say Microsoft, in my opinion, doesn't have anything best of breed, meaning if money was not an issue, I would go out and pick a Microsoft product, right?
Right.
And the support isn't always the best. But it's become more popular because you can bundle together with like Teams and other Azure and M365 services, right? So we've been starting to expand more towards that as well to help out with different people.
So I'm gonna double dip again because I heard it the second time. Do you see pushback from the entities on learning all the different tools, or do they pick a particular basket of tools that's already in the organization and try to skill up their workers for it?
So normally they'll pick like a specific basket of tools that they already have, so they're able to kind of train up on it. A lot of times we try to work out deals with like a per seat basis, and then if they want ongoing support with it, they can add that fee in as well. Popular ones are like Splunk, Microsoft Sentinel, and then for the XDR stuff, I would say probably Sentinel one, and then CrowdStrike are the two biggest ones that we see.
And that's separate of their. I see what it is. That's kind of cool. It's separate of their big box offerings. They're not trying to get certified. They're trying to fix a need in the company based on a lack of skill set or a lack of knowledge in the tooling. It sounds like to me.
Yeah. So if they're trying to, I've had people reach out towards me saying, "Hey, my company wants me to do Splunk training. I need to get certified in it." Right. Then I ask them, "Okay, what is your goal? Right? Do you want to be certified, or do you want to actually learn the platform? Because those are two different things, right? Because I can get you to pass the exam, but you may not know all the stuff that you do the job properly eventually, right?
Right.
So I try to do so we lead from a perspective of if someone actually hired you as a consultant or an engineer, you can actually do the job, right? And there may be some stuff I don't cover for the specific certification exam, but that's pretty easy to learn, right? But I lead from the perspective of I'm teaching you how to actually be an expert in this specific area of cybersecurity.
Yeah, that's nice.
Yeah, so we're here with a cybersecurity instructor and founder of Ellington Cyber Academy, Kenneth Ellington. So as we get into the back half here of the episode, for one, and again, Kenneth, thank you again for coming through and just sharing your time with us here on the Cyber Coffee Hour. As we just learn a little bit more, trying to get a little bit away from the professional sense and just kind of just more about you. But if you wanted to share, I guess just share just a little bit about, like, of course, specifically with the Ellington Cyber Academy is doing, or is there anything related to that that you want to highlight that you're currently doing right now with your program?
Yeah. So we just released our brand new course for vulnerability management. So we're vulnerability expert inside of our staff that's teaching basically NetSuite from Tenable and AWS and how to build a vulnerability management program. So we're doing that. We're also in the process of creating an XDR course with something to one on CrowdStrike. And we're also in the process of creating a threat intelligence course as well. Because those are some of the areas to get asked about for different programs that potential students want to do. And so we've been trying to build that out for them.
So explain that, right? They go to your academy and pick those different programs, like a la carte, like as a shopping cart that they pick through?
They can either do it that way or the main Cybersecurity Boost program, which is around 6 to 9 months. That's the main flagship one we do. The SIEM and SOAR stuff is all included inside that price bundle, basically. Either that or they can individually purchase each individual course.
Nice.
How has cyber impacted your career, business endeavors, and lifestyle?
God, honestly, if it wasn't for cyber, I wouldn't have the lifestyle that I have now, which is very nice. I live in a really nice apartment. I live in a nice area. I can go and eat whenever I want to, which wasn't always the case back in college. I used to joke and say I had to do mental calculus to buy a Kit Kat bar for lunch, right? And so now it's like if I want to go to a nice steakhouse and buy whatever I want to, I can. It doesn't affect my budget. Yeah. So it's really been a really good journey. I get pushback saying cybersecurity is hard to get inside of. I'm like, well, yeah, because it pays a lot. It has good benefits. That's every single job, right? I want to become a neurosurgeon. It doesn't happen overnight, right? It's a lot of money, a lot of time, but you just have to pick and choose your hard for it.
Right.
But people, I guess, think that if I get one certification, I'll have a 6-figure job. Like, that's not how it works. Right? There's no field that's like that.
Can you say that again for the people in the back that didn't hear you? Can you say that again, please?
If you get one certification, you can get two. You will not have a 6-figure job in a couple months. That's not how it works, right? It takes time, which is fine. That's every job market. That's every field. Accounting, being a lawyer, being a project manager, right? Being a director, whatever the case may be. If you want an elite salary, you need elite skill sets, right? So
that's
just keep
the product
that
market fit that you're talking about. Sounds like that owner mindset is there. Like you have the job market fit and then you have the product market fit. It's not always just, hey, it's going to be easy. You have to fit into that product line. You have to fit into that avenue and market space. You have to have the skills to pay the bills, it sounds like to me.
Yeah. And for me, I tell people, technically I was lucky, right? Because Lori knew my director. But if I never spoke up and told her that, I never would have met Rick, right? Mm-hmm. So just constantly being in the right place at the right time, you're going to feel like you get more lucky, right? Because you're always there when people actually need you. Which is the biggest thing, which goes back towards it not being complicated. It's pretty simple to do. It's just being hard, right? And so what are you willing to sacrifice for? I get people have family and lives, right? So what my path to cybersecurity may look different from Dr. Joseph's or you, right? So just have that mindset in mind. It's going to take time, but that's perfectly fine.
So let's unpack that a little bit real quick. What obstacles did you overcome to arrive where you are today? You touched on it a little bit, but let's dive into that a little bit more.
So for me, my family, my dad's side, they're Jamaican immigrants. So they've been here since the 70s and 80s. They dealt with a lot of racism when they came here, even though they went to New York State. So I think they had to deal with that. So I kind of felt that growing up. And my parents understood that, hey, we all look different than a lot of people inside this country. So we're going to be judged upon that, right? So let's keep that mindset going forward. And then my dad told me, he's like, hey, Kenneth, there's not a lot of people that look like us inside the tech field. And I didn't fully understood that until I went to work my first technology conference. It's a software development one, meetup in St. Pete, Florida. and I was like the only like black person in front of like 300 people. I'm like, all right. I'm like, now I get it. It was the same thing when I went to B-sides, and so I'm like, this is kind of
Hey,
weird,
that's a
right?
good one. You went to B-Sides New York or Florida?
I went to B-sides Tampa.
Nice.
Yeah.
Cool.
So it was because it was weird. I'm like, there's only like 5 black people here, right? I'm like, where's everyone else at? And so it was kind of weird. So I kind of felt like, hey, I'm like, if I ever get in a position where I'm able to help people that look like me get inside cybersecurity, I'll do that. And then ECA came up. So a lot of my clientele look like us. So they just feel comfortable with someone that looks like them teaching them. And so that's kind of, I guess, who I naturally attract. I mean, I'm open to teach anybody. I don't care what your race is. But that's just kind of who I naturally attract from what I've seen so far.
Hey, I appreciate that, Kenneth. That helps. That helps a lot because, like you said, I think what we hear a lot and why we kind of formed this show is I had social anxiety talking about that, right? Like just like you, I was always the only person at these conferences, and it's like, well, how are you going to listen to me? There's no representation. How do I talk about something I'm passionate about and I don't see people in the room that look like me, right? So I appreciate you sharing that, and that's kind of why we formed up too, is to see these conversations happen more often and how we overcome them, how we get the access that we're looking for in industry. I think that speaks to that a lot.
And even with going through that experience, as you mentioned, you're either the only black person or only one of the few black people like in a certain space. I mean, I know you kind of touched on it a bit, but at any point did it make you feel like, or made you question whether you're in the right spot? Like, I don't know if I should be here, or with seeing that, did that motivate you more to say, I belong here?
It kind of motivated me to make sure I do belong here. I know eventually one day someone like me was going to be in my shoes, right? I want to be able to help them out. So it was a lot of like mental angst, but I had to push through because I knew other path God put me on, so I wasn't going to let anything stop me.
I think that's good. I think a lot of people need to know that. I really need to hear that because, I definitely for myself, I didn't have anyone growing up, that was doing what I'm doing now, that I could really aspire to say, hey, I want to be like him. I want to be like her. Sometimes we have to be the one to establish to make that path, to forge that path. So I think it's important, like especially when we're talking about laying down the groundwork and what we're going to leave for the next generation coming up, to make that possible, to say, hey, yes, this is something that you can do. This is a field for you, black, white, male, female, what have you. It doesn't matter. Like we have to, I think people get motivated by what they see. So if they don't see it, then they won't know it's possible. So definitely kudos to you for for one, having the courage to go down that narrow path, because again, as you mentioned, either you was the only black person or one of the few in these spaces, but still had the fortitude to stick with it and really push through. And that's a path of greatness, honestly, because doing something where the majority is not doing, but then you're still doing it, and then now you're, now you've really blossomed into something really beautiful that they really help in the industry, and also just help more people as a whole to really achieve, reach their goals as pertains to cybersecurity. So I think that's great.
Thank you.
Absolutely, 100%. Man. So I understand you don't drink coffee. What is your go-to like drink during the day?
Water. So I do boxing, kickboxing, Muay Thai stuff. So I did a 6-week challenge. This was 2 months ago, 2 months ago, and it ended like 4 weeks ago. But since then, I've lost 22 pounds. So this has been fat. So I'm not in the best shape I've ever been in. So I just normally drink water.
Yeah.
It was, for me, it was the sugar, right, that was getting towards me. I didn't realize like how much sugar I did to actually calculate it and cut it out, and I was having like 300 grams per day, which is a crazy.
Whoa.
From
Yeah.
what?
What were you drinking?
Yeah.
It was because we put so much artificial stuff inside of our drinks because that's how it's lobbied now, basically. And so I looked at my juice. I've thrown most of it away now. Like per serving was like I think 30 grams of sugar, and I had 2 servings per day. And then I would have like brownies and ice cream at night. And then,
You said
yeah.
the right one. You said Briars, right?
Yeah.
You said, yeah, Briars. Yeah, I had to. I'll tell you, I grew up on that stuff. That is the Fat Boy ice cream. I'm not gonna lie. that is great ice cream. But yes, it is loaded with sugar. So yeah, we don't even bring it in my house. Even though I was raised on it pretty much. I can't look at that ice cream at all today.
Yeah, so it was that. It was like ice cream and brownies I would have. And then I always wonder, I'm like, man, I work out like 5 times a day, and I spar all the time.
Yeah.
Like, I should be like cut up more. And I just cut it out, and I just kept losing weight. All those like just basically excess weight. So I'm like 163, and I was 185 like back in April.
Nice.
Oh,
it
wow.
makes sense where the grams was coming from. I thought you meant from just beverages, but yeah, that ice cream is great ice cream, but it's loaded up. It's loaded up with sugar.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, and that was counteracting your progress, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah, you're doing all that work, but then the ice cream and brownies, the nightcap was.
Not gonna front. It still messes. I get tempted too, man. It's a great ice cream. There's other alternatives too now that just don't hit the flavor profile for me. But you're right. It is the cost effective ice cream for a reason, right? Like, like it's always on sale. You know.
I mean that's the case. Even you can make that for like fast food. You know, that's why fast food is cheaper than foods that are better for you.
Yeah.
For one, that's that convenience factor. It's cheaper. It's easier to get.
Yeah.
But yeah, and then you get enough of that, you see the pounds start to go up. But yeah, you just have to be conscious, be diligent, and really pay attention as to what you actually put in your body, and then really kind of going from there.
Yeah, it's like I can't eat, or I don't really want to eat like overly greasy foods anymore. I've lost some cravings, which is really cool. So the first week I was off, I had a cheat meal.
Okay.
Because I haven't eaten any crappy stuff like in a month and a half. So I ate like entire pizza, and I felt like crap. I'm like, I don't want to do this anymore.
What, a whole box, the whole pie?
Yeah.
Then she was like, yeah, carbs. He went there, he's like, I'm gonna eat this pizza. Your body was probably starving, like
your body was like, what the hell am I? What the
right.
hell is this? We haven't had this in so long. And
right.
that
Shock
was
to the system. So I'll take the next one. You touched on the kickboxing. So are there any other interests or recreational hobbies that you do outside of cyber that you enjoy?
So I'll say cooking and then anime. I'll start with cooking. So for cooking, that's what I actually initially wanted to do when I was about to graduate from high school. I'm really good at cooking. I've been taking cooking classes and cooking with my friends and family basically since I've been like probably 10 years old.
Nice.
Then I like anime because that's what my family watches basically. My brothers and my dad. So I'm really big into anime like comic books. So
we touched on the pre-show. Which animes are you watching right now?
So My Hero Academia season 7's out.
Nice.
Demon Slayer season 4 is out. What else is out? So Fire Force season 3, final one comes out next year. Dr. Stone comes out, I think, next year as well for the final season. I've seen Hunter x Hunter. I finished Attack on Titan. I watched Death Note.
Death Note is a classic.
Yeah,
do you consider like Vinland Saga and all the other ones in Netflix anime? I know I've seen other shows like shout out to Other Side of the Firewall. Do you consider those anime? Like Vinland Saga?
Yeah.
What's the one with the humans that fight the like false gods or whatever? What's that one called?
What, Fullmetal Alchemist?
No, not that one. There's another one where they fight like the humans fight like Greek gods and stuff. I just saw it on Netflix. I can't remember the name. But do you consider
like Blood and Zeus or something?
Yeah, Blood and Zeus. That's the one. Are those considered anime in your mindset, given that you have the fandom, or are they considered something else?
So Vinland Saga and Blood and Zeus are considered anime. I don't like Vinland Saga. I got through half the first season. I'm like, man, it's just like random violence. Keep killing everybody.
Right.
I can this.
What's the point of that show? Yeah. Right.
So it's that. But yeah, I'm a really big fan of it. To me, it's really cool because like each anime has its own different style compared towards like DC and Marvel stuff where it's like normally a really large team or company. The styles aren't as unique across the board compared to with anime. It's like that one individual creator's own unique vision of how he sees his own show, basically.
Dig it. I went back to watch the Samurai Champloo, and I think I'm gonna pick up the Berserker series. I haven't seen those in years. I'm also a fan of Desert Punk. That's an old one, but I like that genre because it was pretty new to me. Like that and style, like you said, the creator's animation was pretty new to me. So I dust those off and watch them every now and then.
I think you'd like Jujutsu Kaisen then.
I'm gonna add that to the list. I'm gonna add that
or
to the list.
JJK for short, is what they call it.
I keep hearing, yeah, I've heard it, but I just never checked it out. I'm gonna add that to the list.
Yeah, they have so season 2 has one of the best fight scenes in anime history, in my opinion. Towards the end of it,
I definitely have to watch it now.
That's a recommendation list. So and also you mentioned boxing and kickboxing. So boxing, are you actually did you see the Nate Diaz fight?
I didn't see it. I was reading about Ryan Garcia, and now he's banned basically for a year.
Yeah. Huh. Well, and why was he banned?
So initially he got banned for the substance stuff they were taking, and so they wanted to get switched to fights for I think Tank Dell Ryan Hanley.
I think it was Hanley, yeah.
Yeah, and then I guess he started to
Oh yeah. Yes, yeah.
Damn,
I didn't hear the fallout. I didn't know it was a year. Okay. Wow. And with kickboxing, are you also watching UFC or actually are you participating in kickboxing yourself? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So I sparred this past Friday night. So it's not like Naruto. We're not trying to kill each other, right? It's more light sparring, so technical sparring, right?
Yeah.
Which when I first started, I thought it was all like Naruto, where we're all trying near each other in the head till you bleed out and die. But it's I thought my worst fear. I'm like, I don't want to I make too much money in cybersecurity. I want to injure myself.
Right.
But it's really fun. Yeah. So for me, the cool part is about this is the mental aspect. Because you're functionally trained to kill somebody with this skill set if you really wanted to, right?
Mm-hmm.
But you have once you get that much self control of your body, you realize how dangerous you can be, and so you mentally calm yourself down at all times, right? You realize how dangerous you can be if you went down that path, right? So controlling the mental aspect of that, controlling your mind, your body, your soul, basically, and being in a calm state, it's one of the coolest things that I've enjoyed about the process. Because initially, when you're inside the ring, right, you can't leave. So it's either killed or be killed, right? Initially that was my first reaction, right? Even though these are my friends, right? Because it's that humanistic thing, right? Primal sense. So you have to calm that down, right? Which is really cool to master.
And you mentioned the cooking. What does a cookboxer eat to compete? Basically, what do they eat? They don't eat pumpkins, right? So this is my hobby. I finally can show this off. I grew this in my yard, so I'm thinking I can't eat it this year, right? But what does a kickboxer eat to stay in that competition?
I eat so much now. I'm always so hungry, even though I'm still losing weight because I'm not eating crap anymore. But normally I'll eat chicken breasts, boneless skin on chicken breasts, or skinless chicken thighs. I don't like eating skin because I'm a serial killer. Either that or boneless chicken.
Wait, say that again? You don't eat the skin because what?
To me, I don't want to eat that.
That's interesting.
Yeah. It's either that, salmon, rice, whole wheat bread, corn, broccoli, spinach, onions, stuff like that.
Sound like you need to make a cookbook, man.
Yeah, it does. It does. I picked up No Foolish Fish. That's the first cookbook I've ever gotten. Foolproof Fish. Sorry, I got it from the aquarium out here, and it's immense. It's immense recipes and stuff that I'm gonna try. And then I grew these accidental pumpkins in my yard. I have no recipes for them, so I don't know what I'm gonna do. I might give them out to my neighbors, but I'm not gonna eat the first year crop because I really, like you said, I'm trying to get back to single source eating. Something that I knew where it came from. I did the carnivore diet based on my cousin's recommendation. Shout out to he knows who he is. I lost 50 pounds off of that. So getting to that single source and stuff grown in your yard is kind of what I'm trying to do. But I never thought, like you said, eating the skin of a chicken makes you a serial killer. That's really interesting. I never thought of that during the diet.
That's funny.
Yeah. So it's I was a lot of extra fat and calories. So I didn't want it. So yeah, I normally try to eat pretty lean now. I went from eating dessert every night to I only eat dessert maybe once or twice a week. Instead of me eating or drinking sugary drinks twice a day, I'll have one maybe twice a week.
Yeah, you're shifting it to a treat as opposed to the everyday meal.
Right,
So,
right.
nah,
Which I think
but
is ingrained in. I'll be real. It's ingrained in our society to do that. I don't know. Like you said, American culture. It is 2 drinks minimum with your meal. Lunch and dinner, or breakfast and dinner. Breakfast is usually a sugary substance, coffee included. Right? We talked about this in our other episodes, but it took me a whole year and a half to train out my mind of taking sugar and milk out of my coffee. Right. So to your point, we talk about the no foolishness, Dr. Joseph, and then breakfast, pancakes. First, I love a short stack, right? But I had to realize, like, yo, that's not the first. That's the first mega hit of sugar in the morning that lasts most of the day. And then lunch is another mega sugar hit. A Subway sandwich, right? Breaded items, things like that. We don't even take the factor. Chick-fil-A with a soda. That's the second hit. So you're right. It's a conditioning that sounds like you have that we got to undo in our daily diet for sure. I don't know how many grams I'm up to now, to be real, but I'm sure it's probably around, like you said, 300. It's just in sugar alone.
yeah, man. Well, Kenneth, we definitely appreciate you coming through. This one, we had a great time with you. For you stopping through the Cyber Coffee Hour, and before we go, if anything you want to share with our listeners, and also if you want to share just how they can get in contact with you, with your programs, and just again to contact with you.
Sure. So best way you can contact with us is either through our site, which I think you guys should have it. If not, just let me know. Either our site, reach out towards me over LinkedIn. You can send me an email. All my information is on my LinkedIn profile. That's probably the easiest way to reach me. Or just watch our YouTube videos and reach out towards us that way.
Nice.
Awesome. Thank you. And thank you to you, those watching, tuning in to the Cyber Coffee Hour. If you enjoyed this episode, please like, share, and subscribe. Follow us on all of our platforms. You can also find the Cyber Coffee Hour on YouTube, Spotify, and Apple Podcasts. That's it. That's a wrap. We out of here. Peace.
Thanks, guys.